Song Hye Kyo and LeeMinHo caught holding hands on the red carpet. The night began like any other star-studded event. The cameras were ready, the lights brighter than ever, and the world tuned in to see its favorite stars parade down the red carpet in gowns and tuxedos. But no one, not even the most seasoned paparazzi, not even the most die-hard fans, was prepared for what happened next. Hold on tight, K-drama family, because this journey is only just beginning. The world of your favorite celebrities is unfolding before your eyes, and every moment is more breathtaking than the last. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. The revelations, the emotions, the moments that will change everything. Because on that night, under the blinding flashes of 1,000 cameras, two of Korea's most beloved icons, Song Hye Kyo and LeeMinHo, walked into history hand in hand. And the world stopped breathing. The first glimpse came suddenly. Photographers were shouting for LeeMinHo, who had just arrived, his presence commanding the carpet as always. The cameras adored him, tall, elegant, every inch the leading man. But then, from the other side, Song Hye Kyo appeared. Stunning, timeless, every movement radiating grace. The crowd roared her name, their screams echoing like waves. For a moment, it seemed routine. Two legends of the screen, each dazzling in their own orbit. And then it happened. As their paths crossed, as the flashes reached a frenzy, LeeMinHo reached out his hand. Song Hye Kyo hesitated only for a heartbeat. And then, with a soft, deliberate motion, she placed her hand in his. The crowd exploded. It was not just a touch. It was not the polite linking of arms often staged for cameras. This was different. Her fingers curled into his. His grip was firm, protective. Their hands were not posed for show. They were intertwined, natural, real. The photographers screamed louder, desperate to capture the moment. Fans watching on live broadcasts leapt to their feet, tears streaming down faces, screaming at screens as if witnessing the climax of a K-drama. Social media imploded instantly. They're holding hands. Song Hye Kyo and LeeMinHo live right now. This is history. Hashtags flooded the top of global trends within minutes. On the carpet itself, chaos reigned. Reporters shouted questions. Are you together? Is this official? Is this love? But neither Song Hye Kyo nor LeeMinHo answered. Instead, they simply kept walking.
Calm, poised.
Their hands never letting go. The silence was louder than any confirmation. Observers noticed every detail. The way LeeMinHo occasionally glanced at her, his eyes soft, protective. The way Song Hye Kyo's lips trembled into the faintest smile, a smile that seemed to carry both nervousness and relief. The way their hands tightened each time the cameras flashed too brightly, as if clinging to each other for strength. It was not a scandal. It was not a performance. It was a moment of truth. Backstage, insiders whispered in disbelief. This wasn't planned, one industry staffer confessed. No one knew this was coming. Not the organizers. Not the managers. This was them. And perhaps that was why the world reacted so powerfully. Because it wasn't scripted. It wasn't staged. It was raw. It was real. By the time the two entered the main hall, the entire internet had descended into chaos. Entire fan communities shut down their sites temporarily under the weight of traffic. Media outlets scrambled to rewrite headlines. TV hosts, stunned into silence, replayed the footage over and over again. And outside, in cities across Asia, fans gathered in groups, watching the clip on giant screens, screaming together like witnesses to history. For Song Hye Kyo, it was a return to love in the public eye after years of solitude and painful chapters. For LeeMinHo, it was the boldest step he had ever taken in his career, a step that risked headlines, speculation, even scandal. But together, hand in hand, they seemed unshakable. After the red carpet, the shockwaves began. The red carpet had ended, but the world had only just begun to process what it had witnessed. Song Hye Kyo and LeeMinHo hand in hand, disappearing into the glowing entrance of the grand venue, left behind a storm that no one could contain. The reporters were in chaos. Some screamed into live broadcasts, their voices quivering with disbelief. Others scrambled to send breaking headlines to their editors. And yet, all of them carried the same phrase on their lips. This changes everything. Inside the press room. Minutes later, the press room was electric. Screens replayed the footage in an endless loop. The moment LeeMinHo reached out, the split second of hesitation, the handhold that shook the earth. Microphones buzzed with chatter. Veteran journalists, usually unmoved by celebrity gossip, leaned forward in stunned fascination. "Do you realize what this means?" whispered one senior correspondent. "She hasn't walked hand in hand with anyone since her divorce. And he's never done this with anyone in public." Another replied, "It's not just romance. This is a declaration, a challenge to the industry. They're telling the world, we don't care about the rules anymore." The entire room fell into a stunned silence as the thought settled. On social media, meanwhile, the online universe burned. Within 15 minutes, hashtags like #MinHo Hye Kyo, #RedCarpetLove, and #HistoryInTheMaking dominated global trends. Clips of the moment were set to music, slowed down, replayed in endless edits. Some fans screamed into their phones, others wept openly. A single line from one fan post went viral. "In that handhold, I saw years of her pain healed and years of his waiting fulfilled." It was retweeted over 5 million times within hours. Family reactions. But beyond the screaming fans, the media, the flashing cameras, something more intimate was unfolding. Back in Seoul, Hye Kyo's family sat glued to their television. Her younger relatives cried openly. One whispered, "She's finally not alone anymore." Meanwhile, in LeeMinHo's family home, his mother covered her mouth with trembling hands. His sister grabbed her phone, already preparing for the tidal wave of messages that would flood them. But through the chaos, his mother said only one thing. He held her hand like he'd been waiting his whole life. Inside the venue, backstage. While the world burned outside, inside the grand venue, the two stars slipped into the quieter backstage corridors. Their managers followed in panic, whispering warnings about the press, about the fallout, about the scandal this could unleash. But Hye Kyo and LeeMinHo did not let go of each other's hands. Not once. Finally, as they entered a quiet waiting room, they sat down side by side, the door closing behind them. For the first time all night, there were no cameras, no screaming, no flashing lights, just the sound of their own breathing. Hye Kyo spoke first, her voice soft, uncertain. "Do you realize what you just did?" LeeMinHo looked at her, calm but resolute.
Yes.
"And I do it again." Her eyes searched his face, as though still trying to measure the weight of his choice. "They're never going to let this go," she whispered. "The press, the fans, the industry, it won't be easy." He leaned closer, his voice steady, almost protective. "Then let them talk. Let them chase. I don't care. For once, I want the truth out there. I don't want to hide anymore." The weight of his words. Hye Kyo stared at him, silent. For years, she had carried the burden of scrutiny, every relationship dissected, every decision criticized. She knew what it cost to be seen. And yet, here was LeeMinHo, the most sought-after leading man of his generation, choosing to risk it all for a single gesture. For her. Her eyes softened, filling with tears she tried to hide. LeeMinHo noticed. He squeezed her hand tighter, his voice low but unwavering. "I'm not afraid of them. I'm only afraid of losing the chance to stand beside you. So let them see us. Let them know." The final scene of the night. As the ceremony began, the world's eyes stayed locked on one thing. Would Hye Kyo and LeeMinHo continue to sit together? Would they keep holding hands? And then the cameras panned across the glittering hall. There they were, seated side by side, hands intertwined, not hidden under the table, not withdrawn for the sake of appearances, but visible,
Proud.
The audience in the hall gasped. Fans watching at home broke into screams, sobs, prayers. And in that moment, history was sealed. Because this was no accident. No slip of impulse. This was a decision. This was a statement. This was the beginning of something the world would never forget.